In my dreams, he's running to me, catching me when I fall. I'm suddenly flying, it's like I'm skydiving, and I can't see the floor. Together we run among the stars, we escape this world. Nothing can stop us, indestructible lovers. I feel invincible, he's holding.
Hello and welcome back again to another podcast by me, Patrick M.W. Lynch. Excuse me, I have got a cough, so you have to excuse me if I occasionally break into a coughing fit. This podcast was long overdue. I was meant to do one during Christmas and just after New Year, but of course, me being me, one, forgot, and two, tried to do a million other things at the same time, so it kind of took the back burner. But anyway, here we are. So happy late Christmas, happy late New Year. So this podcast I really wanted to sort of focus on dissecting a poem, really, I suppose, a poem that I've written. I thought that would be quite a fun thing too, because I've not done that yet, and it's going to tie into a bit of a talk about one of my books as well. So it's kind of two in one. You get two for the price of one here, and they're completely free to listen to. This two for the price of one, all free. So this poem that I'm going to read, I wrote 3 days ago, and it was after a little worry episode of mine. So I call them worry episodes, and everybody worries. That's part of the joys of being a human, the joys of being alive, really. Actually worrying, everyone worries, and worrying a little bit is okay, but sometimes I worry and it worries. The worries become worries, and it's like a little man running around worrying and going and all that stuff, which I have come to write about a lot actually. Sometimes I do write about a lot because I think it's really important, and especially now as well, which I think is a brilliant thing about the day and age we live in, how mental health has been really at the forefront and been talked about, and been so openly talked about by a lot of different people and influencers and celebrities and everyday people and everyone. And I think that's fantastic. And especially for me, people like Lady Gaga, who openly talks about her mental health and what her mental health means to her and what she's gone through and how she deals with things. And my writing is a very often emotionally charged way of writing, and I take pride in that, and I actually really enjoy that about my writing, because I think it then gives people something they can relate to who are going through the same things, and actually is very much to the point, and it's very much raw and honest. And I think it's important that nowadays, in the days of obviously social media that we've got a lot of, which is can be good, which also can't be great, and Instagram and all that stuff, that where a lot of things are blended over and it looks like everything's fantastic, and people put up as if everything's fantastic, and they filter and they put up all the good stuff, and of course people don't put bad stuff a lot of the time on there. So a lot of people who are my age, I suppose, and younger generation, but my generation who grew up with it, kind of think that's they're all great and stuff, so why am I not like that all the time? So I post a lot of poems that are like this. So I'm going to read it now because I'm blabbing as per usual, but I just love doing these podcasts. This is something that I do enjoy. I love doing it, and I could go on for hours and hours, but I won't. So I'll read this to you first and then dissect it a little bit. So, I am my own worst enemy, full of life yet always tired. I see colours blend as one, though I can still see the rainbow. I've been bruised from a fist, yet I have felt many comforting hands. I always offer a listening ear, but neglect my own. Round and round my worries go, the needle rusty from tears. My emotions are my own. I refuse to be the worst enemy. So that poem, it came to mind because, you know, I often do say to my partner and to family and friends sometimes as well, you know, I am my own worst enemy because and everyone's their own worst enemy, I suppose, in a way, but I really am my own worst enemy. That I will be that hypercritical, worrying, panicky person in my head for reasons that most people could go, oh, okay, you know, not gonna, it's done, it's, you know, what's done is done and all that stuff. Whereas I sometimes and a lot of the time don't seem to have the ability to do that. But I've come to love that about myself. And the line where it says, though I can still see the rainbow, um, is a line that what from the poem that I actually particularly really like. And when I wrote it first, it didn't have that line in. It had something completely different, and I kept reading it, and that line was bugging me, and I thought, oh no, that doesn't. That something. It needs to be more, you know, in my eyes, more powerful than that, and it needs to just sound a bit better. So I got rid of the line that was there. I can't remember what it was now. I think it was, though I can see a multitude of colours before my eyes, or something like that, and it just felt too long in there, and I didn't like it. So I put, though I can still see the rainbow, and I like that line because I am colorblind. So a lot of people, when they find out I'm colorblind, and they don't do it to be malicious in any way, they just do it because it's a natural thing that people do. They go, "Oh, what color is this?" And they'll point to their t-shirts and their jumper and the wall and a sign, and that will be the fascination of, "Oh, what color is this?" And as much as it's great that they're interested, it can be really frustrating because it can be patronizing, and it also, when, you know, I then, you know, say, well, that's this color and that's the same color, but even though they're completely different colors, one also does look like, you know, it does look like, well, what the hell can he see? You know, everything must blend as one, really. And even though sometimes they do, you know, that part of the poem is to remind people, and for anyone who's colorblind and knows them, to remind the people that know them, that actually they can still see the rainbow, even though some colors blend as one. They can still see colors. They can still see to a certain degree, but their own colors. You know, that they have a fantastic, their own little world of colors, and they can still have that ability. And that reference as well for me is a reference of, you know, it's not just colors. There's a lot of things that I struggle with that might blend as one. So when I read sometimes, because of my dyslexia, I really have to focus, because sometimes the words will suddenly start jumping down the page, or they will literally blend together, or, you know, when I'm doing a maths problem in for whatever reason, or I'm trying to figure out the numbers will jump. It sounds, you know, to most people very odd, but the numbers will jump around, and in my head they'll be, you know, they won't make sense, and but it doesn't mean that I still can't see those numbers, if that makes sense. It still doesn't mean that I can't do that sum, or that I can't read that book. It just means that I do it in a different way to everybody else, and that's the fantastic thing about having dyslexia and dyscalculia, is you do things in a different way, and you actually come up with your own way, and you're very unique, and that's something that I've grown to love about myself. And as we go further down the poem, another line as well that I really, you know, I toyed with, and I nearly actually got rid of, but in the end I kept, because I thought, no, I actually quite like that in the end, is, I always offer a listening ear but neglect my own. And that line is 100% accurate to me as a person. For a lot of people who know me, know I will always be the one to pick up the phone if someone needs me. I'll always be the one to be there for somebody if something's happened. That, you know, I'll always try and do my best to really help people when I can. I will drop things and I will pick people up at 3 o'clock in the morning from somewhere, or I will, you know, listen to them if they're upset. Or I will do anything for people. But a lot of the time, I actually do that much sometimes and race around that I do neglect my own time, and I do neglect my own self. So I sometimes so busy making sure that a lot of other people are okay that I do kind of, and I suppose everyone does it to a degree, but do you take yourself back, and the thing that I wanted that you know that part of the poem to be was that kind of impacting thing of I'm hoping for other people to read it and go, oh yeah, I do that. These habits are something that I want people to maybe recognize themselves and go, oh yeah, I do that, again, so that I can really reach out and speak to people through my writing. um and the last two lines as well, I'm focusing on the last two lines of each verse here, but the last two lines of the last verse are particularly powerful to me as well, because it says, my emotions are my own, I refuse to be the worst enemy. So my emotions are something that are very unique. I don't think anyone does emotions like I do. I'm very forthright, I'm very open and honest with my emotions, and I display them without any kind of fear or shame. I display them very easily, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, as with anything. But for a long time, I struggled with that, and I kind of struggle with that way of, my gosh, why, my emotion scale is off the chart, sometimes. But actually, that line for me, my emotion is my own, is very powerful, because it, when I wrote that, it kind of hit, gave me a bit of a kick, to go, well, yeah, my emotions are my own. The way I think is my own, but the way I process things, the way I deal with things, the way I feel things are my own, and I don't have to change them for anybody. They are my own emotions, and that was a really powerful line to write. Then the last one, I refuse to be the worst enemy. I remember writing this and getting to that point, and feeling very empowered from writing it, going, well, actually, yeah, I do refuse to be to be the worst enemy. I refused to carry on thinking like this, and of course, in that moment, I was thinking that, and it might be that, as a lot of people do, and as everyone probably does, they think something at a certain moment, the next moment they might end up forgetting they thought that and do the complete opposite. But at that point of writing it, and when I read it out loud, I get that fire of, no, I refuse to see who I am as my own worst enemy. I refuse to see that just because the colours blend as one, and just because I'm tired a lot of the time, and just because I'm sometimes worry that I'm my own worst enemy. Because actually, I think if you say your own worst enemy, it's very a derogatory thing to say in your head. Actually, you're not your own worst enemy. You're your own, almost, if you like, I was going to say checkup person, if that makes sense. You're your own processor. You process things in your own way, and actually, a lot of the time, it's not a bad thing to process things in your own way, as long as it doesn't get over the top processing, and you need obviously that help. But that poem for me was a really powerful poem to write, and I love writing that poem. And kind of that ties into one of my books that I've talked about, what I want to talk about, sorry, that I haven't talked about yet. Which isn't an 80s love affair. That there are already two, I think, videos about that. You'll be pleased to know. It's actually about the book called Perception, which is my second book. And Perception ties into this poem, because this poem is all about perception. This is about how this person, which if is me, but how this person views their own mindset, and how they view their own sort of seesaw in their head of how they're sometimes doing this, but then they're also doing this, and they're doing like one thing for someone else, and they're doing completely the for themselves. And Perception focuses on a young man called Sam, and it focuses on how he deals with the fact that his ex-partner from many years ago suddenly comes back and is kind of crying out for him, and realizes he made a mistake and how badly he treated him and all of that stuff. And it follows Sam as he takes a journey to figure out, you know, whether he wants to do that or not. And it kind of explores his perception in his head and what the impact of someone else did to his perception, and how they unbalance that seesaw in his head to an extreme, and how he's going to get that seesaw balanced back again, and whether he's going to let this other person come back on the seesaw, or whether he's going to actually put another version of himself on the other end of the seesaw to balance it out again. And it follows that journey, and it was a really good book for me to write, because it again, it's to do with personal experiences, which, you know, I love delving into that. I think that's a fantastic thing to use in your writing, which obviously has name changes and all the other stuff. So it's, you know, as most writers do, unless you're writing a memoir of any sort, you kind of, you know, change names and things like that. And so it was really fun for me to write, and it was also reflective for me to write. And at the end, I remember finishing it, and after the different drafts and editing it and everything, and looking and reading it and thinking, do you know what? I really do hope this resonates with people, and I really do hope people enjoy this book and it makes them think about their own perception and their own, you know, like this poem as well, explores their own swing in their head and how they balance that. And actually, you know, some people who may be in that position where a person that they are with is actually making that seesaw, very, very unbalanced, to the point where it's, you know, it's you can't get it back balanced again, and how that interferes with your own perception. I'm hoping that gives them inspiration and a comfort in hand to actually, you know, go, I need to rebalance this. I need to rebalance this seesaw. So that is the podcast for this week, for the new year, because it was meant to be done on the new year, and as I said before, completely forgot. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoy listening to all my podcasts, and I hope that you have listened to it all the way through. I know it's, you know, 20 minutes or so, but I'm hoping that it has inspired you. I'm hoping it's made you think of your own seesaw in your head and how you balance that seesaw. And if you liked what you heard, if you want to hear more about me and my writing and read more about my writing, then I have the YouTube channel, and I have videos on the YouTube channel, sorry, not channels, just the one channel for you to look at and listen to, which is, of course, Patrick M.W. Lynch. I have some poems on there, and I also have a little video explaining who I am as a writer, and talking about my latest book, An 80s Love Affair. And if you also want to find out more, I've got a website, which is www.patrickmwlynch.weebly.com. I have Twitter, Patrick MW Lynch, and Facebook, of course, Patrick MW Lynch again. So please, you know, feel free, go on any of those sites. Feel free to read any more of my poetry that's on there. Have a look at some of the other books that might take your fancy, and have a great day. And remember, I am a self-published author. Do my own marketing. I do my own promotions like this. I do my own little fun videos like you're hearing. So please support me if you can. That would be fantastic. Just share and like, and maybe comment and tag people who might enjoy same-sex romance. If there's anyone that you know that might enjoy same-sex romance books, emotive poetry, and really heartfelt writing, then please point them in my direction. And I will see you on the next podcast. Bye.
Dreams, his soul is bright. He doesn't give up on me. He leaves on the light. In my dreams, I am loved by a man who believes I'm worth more than bad guys who don't care, who leave me angry and scared, fighting an internal war. He cares for me. Oh, in my dreams, he stays true to his word. He never betrays me. He stays away from temptation. He does not leave. In my dreams, his soul is bright. He doesn't give up on me. He leaves on the light. In my dreams, I stand tall. I'm proud of myself and how I've fought. But then I wake up and I feel so small. Without his love, I feel like I got nothing at all. I want to dream forever, because in my dreams, his soul is bright. He doesn't give up on me. He leaves on the lights. He stays true to his word. He never betrays me. He stays away from temptation. He does not leave. Oh, in my dreams, yeah, in my dreams, I wanna go back to sleep and meet him only in